Thank you everyone for joining us today. Your host and organizer today is Chantel Henderson, and I am the co-host. So you are at Lunch and Learn number 2 of the RISE webinar series, and we'll be talking about community gardens in Pinaymootang and Peguis First Nations.
Okay, I found my presentation. I'm going to email it to myself.
And for the rest of our agenda, we have land acknowledgement, followed by some details about video and audio recording, a couple of technical details, and any question for submitting questions. Then we will introduce Alfred Pruden and hear his presentation about the gardens in Pinaymootang. Saying that right? Pinaymootang First Nation. Yeah. And then we will be joined by Carl McCorrister, who will share about community gardening in Peguis First Nation. And we'll close with a time for question and answer. So feel free, you'll be able to put questions and comments in the chat as the presenters are sharing. And we'll save a time for questions at the end, and then we'll finish up with some closing remarks.
Okay, I found it. So I was going to email it to myself now. Shit, but it says too big. I can't email it to myself. That's why it didn't come through, because it's too big.
It's okay. I found the Google version. I'll send that to you. It has your notes. All right.
Okay, Chantel, when you're ready for the land acknowledgement, go ahead.
All right. So, hi everybody. I hope you can see me. I don't see myself. Hello? Can you see me, Amy?
Yep, I can see you.
You can hear me?
Yep. Okay.
All right. So everyone, thank you. Welcome. The Green Action Center is located on the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, Anishinaabeg, Dakota, and Dene peoples. It is also the homeland of the Métis Nation. We acknowledge that our water is sourced from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation, and the hydroelectricity we use comes from numerous First Nation territories around Manitoba.
Now, just a few details about video and audio and recording. For the purposes of recording and to minimize interruptions, all participants will be muted and video functions will be disabled during the presentations. And just a note for all attendees that the webinar is being recorded and will be available online via our YouTube channel within the next 2 days. So if you want to rewatch it or pass it along to someone who wasn't able to attend today, you'll be able to access it on YouTube.
Okay, I have my notes on the screen, but the thing is, I can't see you guys now.
We could see you.
Yeah, I lost you guys.
I don't think your face shows up when you're speaking, but we can see you.
Okay, there you go. Now I can see you guys. All right,
okay.
I have my notes.
Okay.
So whatever you do, don't bother the screen.
All right. So proceeding on. So there's a chat function here, as probably many have already experienced throughout the pandemic through many Zoom meetings. Just put in your comments, questions in the chat box and select hosts and panelists so everyone can actually see your question and your comments. We would actually like everyone to, if you can, introduce yourself and let us know what territory, area you're joining in from. And if you have any issues, Amy or myself will try to help you out behind the scenes. Yeah, next. So without further ado,
Our first presenter today will be Alfred Pruden. He is the Aboriginal Diabetes Initiative Worker for Pinaymootang First Nation Health Program. He has been in this position for the past 17 years. Pinaymootang's Aboriginal Diabetes Initiative, ADI, program is a federally funded program that focuses on raising awareness of diabetes, its risk factors, assessments, the value of healthy lifestyle practices, activity prevention, promotion, and building capacity and linkages. Sounds like quite the program and a very big job to do. And Chantel, would you like to introduce our second presenter, Carl McCorrister?
not yet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll
I
wait
guess
until
Carl-
it's his turn.
Okay,
But
And
for now,
further ado, on to Alfred's presentation. So I will stop sharing so Chantel can share his presentation.
So I'm ready. Ready now or what? Hello. Oh man, you took over my notes again. Chantel.
Also, can you do the same thing where you go to,
Yeah, you took over my whole screen. I can't see my notes.
Alfred, can you do the same thing again where you exit full screen view and minimize Zoom?
Okay, now I can see my notes.
Okay,
Hey, am I ready now or what? Let me know when I start.
yep, we're ready.
Start now?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. All right, this is kind of difficult for me to try and do a presentation and figure out the Zoom thing. That's fairly new to me because I haven't been using Zoom for a while. Like this is only my second time using Zoom. But anyway, I want to tell you a little history about Pinaymootang. And Pinaymootang were very proactive with gardening, also farming. And a lot of people had, I think pretty much every home had cattle, horses. And then we were flooded here, eh? And then the flood destroyed that industry. So we're trying to revive our people to get back into gardening, and people are what do you call it? They're excited to garden, and like I had mentors to like elders talk to me about telling me history about Pinaymootang and what happened maybe about 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and they would always encourage me to to help promote gardening. And the oldest elder come up to me and says, he says, when you first have a garden, he says, don't expect to get any produce from it. He says, later on you will, maybe 1 year, 2 years. He said, then your garden will begin to produce. So I listened to him, and I started helping out people, and I encouraged them to not to give up, not to give up. First year, maybe 2 years, because there's a lot of weeds in the garden, and so we helped out people like with the plowing and tilling. We hired a couple of local elders that knew how to read the ground, because you can't just make a garden wherever you want. You have to have soil there, topsoil. So those elders knew what to do. Like they're retired now, so they retired, and they they're enjoying their retirement, I guess, and plus also their health is not too well, so we'll hope they both get better and improve with their health. But community-based health promotion and primary prevention. Next screen, please. Chantel. Next screen. Chantel, next screen, please. Right there. Yep. Good. But anyway, screening and management activities that support the early detection of diabetes-related complications that maintain appropriate management to improve health outcomes. Capacity building and training activities to enhance community workers and health professional capacity to deliver effective health promotion and diabetes prevention, a program based on the community way of life. Knowledge mobilization. Activities that will improve and promote knowledge sharing on what works to promote health and prevent diabetes associated risk factors. Next screen, please. Community gardens can mitigate some of the problems that plague urban settings, especially in indigenous communities. You see such high rate of unemployment with many living on social assistance. The health and well-being in the indigenous population is poorer than those of general population. So in order to help with food security and build sustainable system, Pinaymootang First Nation Health have worked to promote and initiate its community gardening projects for the past 17 years. And each year, the community garden projects continue to expand. There are well over 80 community individual gardens in each different homes around our community. So within the next 5 years, we want to even promote more, like 150 gardens. We've achieved that already this year. We were given a little tractor where I went around helping out people. See, the problem we had in the past is that because we had a limited budget, we could only pay for a certain amount of people to get help, like tilling and plowing. Then we ran out of money because in our budget we also had to buy vegetables like seeds and potatoes, and then hiring of the operators. So then we ran out. But since the arrival of that little tractor, I go around and I plow and I till. So we have more money. We have more money within our budget to help people to get more gardens. So I always encourage people, whoever wants a garden, ask, and we will accommodate you. The community also initiate 2 small raised garden beds that are managed on rotational yearly basis by elders and in-home community care and children with complex needs through the Jordan's Principle program. Young mothers are also encouraged to participate in the Canadian prenatal nutrition program. The children are educated in planting seeds, weeding, and conducting throughout during the harvest. All vegetables are shared, and at times young mothers are shown how to process the vegetables in a healthy baby food. Next screen, please. We start off our community planning for gardening as early as January. We ensure that we have our stakeholders play a role in the gardening because funding plays a major role in establishing our community gardening. So every January, we start our pre-order of seed potatoes, and some of our experienced gardeners begin their seedlings at home and plant tomatoes during at this time. February, we initiate our inventory of supply. Germination tests are conducted on the seeds from previous years to ensure expiration. In March, we begin to conduct our advertising and promote of gardening and the importance of healthy eating and activity. By April, a gardening list is gathered and we prepare for plowing and tilling. The community invested in tillers to ensure equipment is ready available to our gardeners. During May long weekend, in May, weather permitting, we plant potatoes and onions. In June, we commence to plant the other varieties of vegetables. Seeding plants provided July and August. We continue on the education awareness on gardening, providing different ideas and techniques. By August, we start with harvesting. This is where we provide education on the harvesting, canning, baby food making, etc. And once October, this is where we begin gardening, cleaning. Then the cycle begins in January. Next screen, please. These are a couple of our community gardeners, the young men, and I encourage them as like they're single young men, and I encourage them, grow potatoes and give them away, give them to the elders, share what you have, and they do that. They share. This young man on the left, I forgot how many bags he got, maybe about 50 bags of 50-pound potatoes, and he shared a lot with elders and his relatives and so on. And this one on the right, that's me, that was before. Okay, next screen, please. Next screen. Right there, this one. That's me on the right. That's my garden in Lower Fairford before we got flooded. And I overdid it with the lettuce. I planted too many lettuce at the same time. I didn't know I was supposed to stagger them, so whatever lettuce I planted, they all came up at the same time, and I was just giving away wheelbarrows full of lettuce, which people enjoyed. And plus, I ate a lot of lettuce too. Like I was eating an ice cream pail full of lettuce every day, which was good. Okay, next screen, please. This is some of the produce that we grow in our community. Next screen, please. Okay, one of the things that I did too is I planted too many beets in my garden, so I had about maybe 500-600 pounds of beets. So I did a workshop for community members, elders, and whoever wanted to come, and I showed them how to can beets. It's very easy. It's not hard at all. Next screen, please. And this year I'm working on creating an orchard for the community. So what we did, we planted apple trees and Saskatoons, and throughout the winter because of pandemic, it was slow. I learned about stratification and rock irrigation. And so I planted it's because when you buy one Saskatoon bush, it's like $6 for one. But if you buy the seeds, you get 250 seeds. That's only like $4, eh? And then we're also getting a greenhouse. So we're gonna be what you call helping out people with Saskatoon trees, apple trees, like even cutting a piece of a twig from an apple tree. You just put it in the ground, and it grows. You get another apple tree from there, cloning all that stuff. Eh, I learned that just by watching YouTube. It's amazing you can learn from watching YouTube. Next screen, please. Gardening has become an important factor for food security. I'd been fortunate to be featured in Manitoba's Region Health of Canada on nutrition, food, and gardening. Gardening serves as crossroads for culture, a place for sharing knowledge, allowing our members to discover and rediscover ways of life through land-based initiatives such as while offering an opportunity for our members to share their traditional wisdom and know-how. Pinaymootang First Nation believes that these traditional teachings based on our way of life will be installed in our children who will then carry on these traditions. We also hope that we can provide the significance of activity outdoor with the families and their children to create family bonding and will affect and create good, happy families. As we begin to move forward this year, we are happy to report through a grant process, we were approved for a community tractor and tiller, which will hugely impact our community gardening. We are also building a capacity on training 2 local youth this year for food security training. Our future, we envision an increasing raised garden beds throughout each community organization, whether it be the school, daycare. We would also like to build all season greenhouse. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much. Oh, my name is Alfred Pruden, by the way, if I forgot to introduce myself. Well, I think, okay, bye.
All right, Alfred, thank you so much. If anyone wants to get a hold of him, here's his contact info, his email. If you have questions about this presentation, we'll get to that after Carl's presentation when we do our Q&A. So thank you. Great. And I'll just ask you to turn off your video and mute yourself, Alfred, and I will introduce our next speaker.
So turn off my video.
Yeah.
Just mute it or what?
Mute and stop video.
Okay, where do I do that?
It should be on the bottom left of your Zoom.
What?
The bottom left of your Zoom.
Okay, I got mute. So
Yeah.
stop video. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are kicking me out now or what?
No. It's just, we got to give, a presenter the chance to show their
Okay.
video.
I got stop video. It says blur my background, choose virtual background, choose video filter.
Nope, just click on stop video.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Carl, are you there? I hope we didn't lose him.
Oh,
Yes.
I think I saw him in the participants list. Maybe
Oh,
you
yeah, I was gonna.
give him speaking ability as a participant.
Okay, hold on, Carl. Get you in here. Move to panelist. There we go. There. Okay, just gonna take a minute. In the meantime, I'll just share screen with my intro slide and do a quick. All right. So introducing Carl McCorrister. He is from Peguis First Nation. He's currently a retired teacher of 25 years. He operates the Peguis Community Garden Project. He is a residential school survivor who raised 5 children, has 7 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Wow. During his teaching years, he coached sports such as hockey, baseball, curling, and cross-country running. He earned a 4-year Bachelor of Education degree, and when he retired, he went back to university to get his graduate degree. Congrats. He has always wanted to work on the land, so he came back home and started the Peguis Community Garden Project back in 2011, which currently stands on 7 acres of land. Are you there, Carl? Are you here? You can show your video and unmute yourself. Carl? There you are. Hi. I don't think we can hear your audio. You have headphones? I still can't hear you. Hmm. Make sure your volume is turned up all the way on your computer. Oops. And unmute yourself. We still can't hear you. Let's see if this will help. Okay, we still can't hear you, Carl. Okay, I'm gonna give you the phone number to dial in and see if that will help. I'm going to send it in the chat. Oh, is that the number to call in, Carrie? Okay. So that's. Okay, Carl, try to call in to this number. I don't think we're having audio issues with your laptop. It's in the chat. All right, so so it's 204-272-7920. 204-272-7920. All right, so we get Carl in. I'll just check out some of the comments. Phil says you're doing great. Hi from Black River First Nation, Manitoba. Hi, Stacy. Hello, Winona from Little Grand Rapids. Hello, Phil from the University of Manitoba School of Agriculture, Treaty 1 territory. He works with a group of students from the Broken Head Ojibwe Nation on a similar initiative. Mike Fernandez is here. He says, good day, everyone. From Strategy Makers Consulting. Really looking forward to learning more about the projects. Always nice to hear from communities doing important work. Anine, my name is Renata McCombs, member of Pinaymootang First Nation. What? That's my home community. Kendra from Treaty 1 Winnipeg, University of St. Boniface education student. Hi, Julie, living in Winnipeg, Julie Price, and a helper to community food systems, work with the Northern Manitoba Food Culture and Community Collaborative. Hi, Christine Dennis, lives in Shoal Lake and teach kindergarten in Wew'suwakapo. Phil says, thank you, Alfred, for your presentation. Renata also says, thank you, such great work happening, good to learn. Great program, love the wheelbarrows of lettuce, Beth says. Julie says, miigwech, Alfred. Irvin says, thanks, Alfred. Mike commented, this is a wonderful initiative. Congratulations, Alfred and Pinaymootang members. I'm wondering if you have issues with bears or other animals. I'm also interested in knowing if you have considered composting as a way to build healthy soils for your gardens. Great program, Alfred. Love the wheelbarrows of lettuce. Any luck, Carl? Did you have a chance to call in? Okay, I'm just gonna call you and hopefully maybe that might work. Let's give it a try.
Hello, you asked me to unmute?
Oh, well, there was a question. Yeah.
Alfred, one of the attendees is wondering if you have any issues with bears or other animals. And they're also interested in knowing if you have considered composting as a way of building healthy soils for your gardens.
Well, when I was a little boy, my great grandfather had three big gardens running, eh?
Okay.
So what he would do, he would rotate those gardens. He wouldn't only use one garden, like he would use two of them and then rest them, rest one garden and then keep going, so on. And animals, if you notice in one of the pictures, I put up a silhouette of a deer.
Okay.
And you know, because in the summertime, deer stay away from each other. They don't go into herds until the fall time, when the mating season starts, eh? That's when they all gather. But in the summertime, they stay away from each other. So I put a silhouette there, and it worked. And then bears, I never had an issue with bears. I don't know about other people. I've never heard anybody complaining about them. But usually when the bears come on the reserve,
Chantel, can you hear me?
they usually shoot them, eh?
Yes. Okay, it looks like Carl is finally on. Great. Like, there we go. Sorry, Alfred, you're going to wrap up your question and we'll give it back to Carl.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. All right. So here we are.
Chantel, are you gonna post my PowerPoint there?
Yeah, I have it
Can you
here.
put up my PowerPoint for me?
Yep. You,
Okay,
I can show
Start it
it
off and then I'll just tell you when to change the page.
for sure. All right, let's start.
All right, just, all right, there it is. So hopefully you can hear me, everyone. I apologize for all the technical problems here. I'm sure some of it is mine on this end. I don't use the laptop very much and I usually get people to help me. So anyway, I apologize for that, but I just want to say a few words here before I really get into my presentation that I want to acknowledge our elders. I want to acknowledge our knowledge keepers, our scholars, our protectors of the earth, the Creator God, and also all those that share in the vision of food security for our First Nation communities. Very important. So with that, I will start. So you'll see on the screen there, Peguis Community Garden 2011, 2022. That's the years now that we've been in operation. I had the picture put on there of, it's quite an old picture and it's actually a picture of Chief Jack Sinclair, who is gone long ago. And this was taken in 1974, I think. And also you'll see veterans there. We had a lot of veterans there and it was a very special day. It was a treaty day. And so it was a very historic day also. And I always appreciate our elders. I think they're very important. So with that, change the page, please. Okay, you had an introduction of me there from Chantel, but that was mine there. I just put up the page there. But I just want to mention that I was a residential school survivor. That's residential school survivor. That's a picture of myself and my friend Len, who attended residential school. And I thought I'd put it on there just to, again, kind of portray our history. Okay, go ahead. Change it. Okay, history of Peguis agriculture. Another very important picture you'll see on the screen. It depicts our history going back to St. Peter's Reserve before we left Selkirk before 1907. And the picture is, again, those 5 young men there back in the day were on their way to join the military to take part in the Great War. And 3 of them are my uncles, 3 on the left. And I thought, again, I wanted to show that. And I want to talk about the importance of knowing our history. I think it's so important to our community. I just want to say a few things about history. We must learn our history to understand the systems of government, ways, society's expectations, and our interaction with the rest of the world. We must learn where our ancestors came from, their way of life, and also the systems we live under, from contact to settlement and enforcement of colonization to the treaties, the Indian Act of 1876, and how it defined our nation's lives, the restrictions, creating dependency, loss of culture and language, way of life, and the new ways forced on us. And of course, the residential school that we all know about. And a couple of points I want to make about that is to understand society, and I'm talking about learning history, yesterday and today, it gives us a sense of identity. Identity is being lost to a lot of our young people. And you'll see the problems that, we've already heard about what we're trying to do in our communities. And loss of identity has a lot to do with the health problems, the mental health problems. And we need to change that. And one way, like I said, is learning history in a positive way. It's so important that we do that with our people, not only the young people, but everyone. I'm sure that we'll all benefit from that as time goes on. Preserve our stories, knowledge, those things that made the life for us. And number 4 I have here is inspire, to give us identity, that our people had an amazing history on Turtle Island, that our young people will walk and run with this and show their pride in their identity. It's very important. A little bit about Peguis agriculture. We had agriculture from the time our people arrived from Sault Ste. Marie back in the 1700s and came to the mouth of the Red River. This is where we settled our people, Chief Peguis, and brought along some seed actually. And when they settled at the river, there was a lot of good soil there, and they settled there. And we obviously started off with the Three Sisters. Three Sisters being corn, squash, and beans. And of course, they had other plants also that they started there. I guess what happened to our people here was there was a surrender of our St. Peter's Reserve in Selkirk in 1907, and our people were forced to move, and this is where we are now in the present day Peguis First Nation here on the Fisher River, and we've been here now for 112 years, I think it is. So again, it had a lot of impacts on our way of life, and also, continuation of farming. Farming was very important to our people. So with that, can you change the screen, please? St. Peter's Reserve, I just kind of covered. I put a picture on there. I thought it was important too, and I mentioned the surrender. But there's a quote there I want to say. We cannot preserve our nations unless we take action to restore pride in our traditions, achieve economic self-sufficiency, develop independence of mind, and display courage in defense of our lands and rights. And that picture there is my 3 acres. I'll probably talk a little bit near the end on new crops, but that's a new wheat, and I had it made into bale hay, and the 3 acres produced 11 big bales for cattle. So that was really a good thing that came out of that. Okay, change the screen, please. Okay, vision to regain our heritage and culture of food security. Mr. Pruden was talking about a new tractor. This is our new one we got 2 years ago, a John Deere, and for sure it's very, very valuable to what we do here in Peguis in our community garden program. It has a tiller. We also have a mower for it, and then it's a front end loader. So it's a very good tool to have around. A little bit of history of our garden project. In 2011, we started a 3-acre garden on bandland. No funding, just a vision to return to the land. Along with 4 others, we broke the land to start our community garden, and we started that site there where the tractors, a 3-acre site there. We had a lot of cleanup. There was actually a lot of growth on it and so on, and we had to clean it, and we finally broke it and got it going. And our outcomes was to promote land use for growing our own food, use our elders' knowledge of agriculture in growing food, and provide foods from the land, promote and showcase our ability to grow our own foods. And that's something very important to our program. Okay, change, please. Okay, organizations that work with us. Again, I'll just sum up the picture. That's a group of elders. We had an elders day. You'll see some beans in front of us there. But I think usually when we have elders day, we get up. I've had up to almost 60 elders come out and join us at our arbor there and have a special day with them. And of course, they bring food, which I appreciate. And we share our vegetables. And a lot of them go home with a couple of bags of vegetables at the end of the day that we pick with them. So our organization, we have workers. Workers are employed from a variety of our band members, people that are unemployed, social assistants, students, volunteers from band departments, and of course our elders. Departments that are involved with our program, the health center, obviously, the programs with the diabetes, Mr. Pruden had mentioned what's happening in his community. Peguis school students, we have a lot of involvement from the students, especially in the summer when they're they give work experience out to them. So a lot of them will come work with us in the summer. Training and employment. We have a training program, and we get young people that are out of school and looking forward to going for employment, and sometimes we get them for a while. And then there's the Jordan's Principle. I'm sure everybody in First Nations know about that program, and they've really come on strong with us now to be part of our operation. Others, Peguis Development Corporation, that's actually the people that kind of look after our funds and when we're going after the funding for our project. The TLE Trust, which is in Peguis, we also have support from them. The AMFCCC, that's our Northern Manitoba Food Collaborative, and very, very pleased with belonging to that organization, because there's other, I think we have around 16 to 18 other First Nations that are part of that and work, and actually there's a plan on getting everyone together again this spring from all those First Nations, so it sounds good. The NHFI and the University of Manitoba, and I will talk about that at the end too. I have some new ideas about what we want to do with our program. Okay, change the screen, please. Okay, garden activities. You'll see a picture of our garden. This is along the river actually, and it's the potato patch. And we certainly grow a lot of potatoes for our people because they love potatoes here. So spring is all about tilling, preparation of the gardens, planting, checking equipment, workers, schedules, seed. And of course, we decide on crops. What are we going to grow? Vegetables, potatoes, beets, beans, carrots, tomatoes, corn, peas, squash. We also started about 5 years ago growing a tobacco that was gifted, a seed was gifted to me, a couple of seeds. We started and it was amazing. We were able to grow our own tobacco for, for our traditional people and just for gifts and so on. So it's really been an important part of what we do and back to the land and showing our culture also, which is very, very important. We also are growing a new seed potato, and again, I'll talk about that at the end of our new initiatives, and then also the new wheat where I showed you about the bale hay. Okay, change the screen, please. Community involvement. Okay, band members with their own gardens. We had 64 in 2001, and great success with their own gardens. That's the number we help. There's probably double that. People that have their own tillers and so on, and do their own. And so, but this is the ones that we've worked with and helped, and they're going to carry on, I'm sure. And I know we're going to have more this coming year. We have Elders Day. We usually have two, one early in the summer when the first crop is out, and then near the end of the year where we invite them out to finish the year. And then we have community garden days also, where we invite the community, the health center involved. We give out what is in season at the time, and like say early it might be the lettuce and so on, onions, and later on the fresh potatoes, and then at the end of the year, of course, we harvest and try and clean everything out. So, now the picture, by the way, is Chief Peguis. I spoke about him in our early history of our people coming to the Red River and settling there. That's a picture of Chief Peguis. Okay. Okay, garden work operations used tractors, tillers, mowers, harrows, wheelbarrows, watering equipment, tanker pump. So why I mentioned that was, the young people come in, I train them, we show them how to operate. It's very important that we get the young people doing that. And I'll give you an example. I had two young people that just come out of school and gave them a chance to, learn to operate a tractor, of course, tilling and also the loaders and so on. And one guy, after he went into heavy equipment, and that guy is just gone, on his own. Because he loved doing that. And so it helps these young people when we give them the experience. Very, very important that we do that. Plant by hand with no fertilizer. And I'm just talking about what we do in our garden. No chemicals. We try to be organic. We till after the harvest and before planting. So when spring is coming, we'll be tilling again. That's a truckload of beets, that the Jordan's principal students picked. And they made a rounds in the community, giving out beets this fall. And that was quite a late crop, I think in even early September it might have been. So yeah, okay, change the screen, please. Other activities, experimental, and I mentioned that the University of Manitoba has been involved with us here. We developed a new Peguis potato, and that's 3 years now we've been growing this potato that we're hoping to develop as a Peguis potato. Now, when we decided what we wanted out of this potato, we looked at the characteristics of how it will adjust to our climate here and our length of growing season. And hopefully those characteristics will be shown in this Peguis potato. And this coming year, I think we'll have it now. We'll have a potato that hopefully is going to demonstrate that. And the research is done part of the university, and so we're hoping to have that. I wanted to mention too that Mr. Pruden was mentioning diabetes program. We have 1 year too, and we started back 3 or 4 years ago. I had to go out, actually I had to go already to Workton, and then last year up to Winkler to get, but it's a potato that's low in starch, and the health looks at it as a good potato for diabetics. And I know our people here love it. They like that potato, the ones that are in that diabetic program at the health center. It's called the Adora potato, and hopefully we're going to develop our own seed for that in the future. And the picture there is the Seneca root, and Seneca root is our history, very important to Peguis, and I know some of the interlake communities, but it's really been important. That's right beside my garden. I've actually seeded those myself. Okay. Change the picture, please. Truth and reconciliation, I think, is very important to mention here. Our people have been through the residential school era, according to the Indian Act, where our children were taken and placed in schools all across Canada, away from the community, away from their parents. And, we know what's happened. The 215 that was discovered last year in Kamloops just kicked off everything, where the truth came out that, these things were happening in residential schools. Very, very important that we recognize the Truth and Reconciliation movement, as declared by the federal government, to use the 96 recommendations to bring change to our communities and society. Recognize our treaty rights and deal with systemic racism in many of the institutions across the land. Being truthful to Canada's history. Bring truth, I should say. Education and how we were portrayed throughout this country's colonization of First Nations people. And that's still, that's why we have to talk about decolonization, even with our own people. There's been so much about the history of Canada and how we fitted in, and I guess you could say, negatively. And I think that for sure we have to start making change in the history of this country. Recognize the treaties, agreements, and rights of First Nations people, which is very, very important. Again, I will talk about more later. Change the page, please. Okay, defining food sovereignty. Every nation has a universal right to their own food sovereignty, and that includes our people, the Indigenous peoples of Canada. For thousands of years, First Nations people had their own food sovereignty, and right through up to colonization, a lot of our foods came right from the land and our people. With the treaties and surrender of lands, and our people lost much of their food sovereignty, and Indian Act had a lot to do with it. With our people being placed on small reserves, we lost much of our food sovereignty. Residential schools, knowledge was not passed on, and that had a lot to do with that breaking of that circle. Restrictions, the Indian Act, the past system, systemic racism, factors of dependency. Dependency is still around, you guys, and we need to do something about it. The picture there I just want to mention is on the left, the 4 guys is my, and one on the right, the end is my garden workers in the last 2 years. And what we did was we built a fence for the church here. it needs to expand the cemetery. And so we did that. And I'm behind Councillor Glennis there, and the guy in the middle in the black is Marty. There's two councillors there from our Peguis Chief and Council. And these guys did all the work. They, you know, just what time we could spare on working that fence, and we built it. And so they had a big lunch for us. That's how we had together with them. So that's the picture. And like I said, we also helped in our community. Okay, change the picture screen, please. Land use, gardens, crops, orchards, fruits, berries, traditional gatherings, edibles, berries, plants, medicines, so many medicines that our people had. We have 3 or 4 groups that gather the medicines, and I'm talking about Peguis. The teachings, use, and mapping the gathering areas to protect. And an example is Matutu Lake here, which is very, very solid in gathering the traditional medicines. And of course, we're looking at other things now: cattle, buffalo, poultry, bees. The picture there was actually visitors from across Canada come to visit us, and we had a gathering at our on the lake, Tommy's Point. Very good gathering, and hosted by Tides and our collaborative, and it is a very good gathering. A lot of them are actually our sponsors that help with our programs belonging to the collaborative. Okay, change please. Okay, land, weather, climate, water, soils. We are experiencing climate change. Our Western Canada is drier, hotter. We know that last summer was like that. And weather can be unpredictable. Many of our First Nation communities are in the north, shorter growing season, poor soils, and not included in many programs, example, Agriculture Canada. And many First Nation communities don't even have good drinking water. And that's just some of the, the things that we're experiencing and we have to face when we're continuing to try to regain food sovereignty in our communities. And I wanted to just mention them, and I don't have time to talk. And I had some things I really wanted to share about it, but I don't have time. So turn the page, please. The need for food security in First Nations. Okay, this is why we have some of the things that why we need to do that. Food has to be bought in by air and train, and I'm talking the far north. Food is very expensive in the northern communities. More poverty, low-income people. Obviously the food is going up so high right now, and it's going to really affect our people across the country. Becoming more and more expensive, the food I'm talking about, in northern communities, and even like to be able to go and get food outside. So it's going to be a challenge in the future. The picture there is a harvest. These guys were picking beets and so on and cleaning up the garden actually. So yeah, it's a year-end thing. Okay, change the screen, please. Our steps in regaining food security. And what I'm talking about is how I did it here. I guess we formed an interest group, like share the vision of what we want to do. Find a piece of land to develop. Common band land, deal with chief and council, very important that you deal with your leaders about lands, get land description, legal and an understanding of land use. Have an agreement, get the elders together, share, collaborate and guide, get guidance. Find funding, fundraise. We did first 3 years we just fundraised, and it took us a while to actually get funding. Equipment needs, very, very important to get, start working on getting equipment that you need. Use of volunteers also. And of course, that first year's get your crop, make it a success. And we did that our first year. We were able to get a pretty good crop. Okay, change please. Discussion, questions, evaluation. Evaluation is part of the operation. I'm talking about our garden every year. We do annual reports, have funders, elders, groups, feedback. Very, very important. You have people involved. I'm very strong. I think people that know me that come to the garden know that we have gatherings, we talk about things, share information. I think it's very, very important. I was a teacher, so I really believe in evaluation. Successes, failures. Look at that. Yeah, you gotta face that you like the successes, but there's also failure, so we have to face that. Year-end gathering, elders, youth, gardeners, that's very important continuation of your program. Peguis Community Garden Program, we have a vision, I've shared that. Our present and our future, what is determining factors of success? And again, it's just talking about, the whole evaluation of what we've done in the past and what our vision is. Education, how important it is in terms of vision for our children and their future. Okay, change the page, please. Okay, I guess that's it, yeah. And what did I want to say at the end? One of the things I want to go back to, if you still hear me, is our treaty rights. Our treaty rights are very important to agriculture. If you look back from the signing of the treaties, the promises were made to help First Nations with agriculture and be sedentary in one place. And I see them eroding now. Treaty rights to agriculture are getting worse. We haven't really gotten much from them. I'm talking about the government of Canada in terms of our treaty. So that's we gotta go back to that and rebuild that relationship. So with that, I don't know if we have time for questions, but I'm open, and I thank you very much for giving me this time and hearing me. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Carl. That was quite a riveting presentation. There was a lot going on in your community, and it's amazing to get the word out about it.
Can you hear me yet?
Yes, yeah.
Chantal, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. June the 17th, this coming June the 17th, we're working with the University of Manitoba. We're going to have a gathering here in Peguis. Part of it will be at our garden. But if you're interested, and I'll probably be getting more, like we'll be making an agenda, but it's going to be talking about all those things I've actually talked about, rights of agriculture and what do we need to do in our communities to better food sovereignty, and what can we do with our youth. And university is very interested in working with us to promote education in our communities for young people in terms of back to the land. So June the 17th will be a good gathering, and if you're available, you're interested, I'll contact me before then, and I'll have more information. We're setting up a committee, by the way, and we're going to be talking about it. So I think it'll be a good time to come together, talk about all these things I've been mentioning. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for the invitation. All right. So we are running behind schedules because of technical difficulties. And so we will move on to our Q&A session. So if you have any questions or even comments about the presentations, either for Alfred or Carl, please put them in the chat. Let's see. We do have some. Let's see. So we'll go through the ones we haven't responded to. My grandmother, Harriet, used to have a garden. This is from Renata in Pinaymootang. One of my dearest memories in childhood is picking her potatoes with her. Mike Fernandez says, thank you for your answers, Alfred, much appreciated. Carrie laughed at potatoes. Hi, Renata. Mike Fernandez says, thank you for sharing your knowledge, Carl, and congratulations to you and Peguis community for your great work. Similar to the question I had for Albert, I'd also like to know from you if Peguis has started looking at composting as a way to increase soil nutrients in your garden. Yeah, and also he's also wondering, what do you do with the leaves, brush, and the other inedible parts of the plants you grow? Great question, Mike. So Alfred, Carl.
Yeah, there's some of that going on. Like individually, people that have their own gardens, I know there's some of them are doing that. Also, I think one of the things that another community we're working with is Jackhead First Nation, who just came on board last year with the collaborative, and we're trying to help them. And of course, their soil is really just like the north, not very good soil for gardens. So they're trying to work on ways of producing their own soil. So this coming year, I'm going to be, I'm just helping them out, so. Yeah, it's something that we need to do for sure and improve on. Like I said, I know some of the people with their own gardens are doing that, composting and so on. And I know when we clean the garden at the end of the year, we put it in one pile and we water it down and we cover it so it'll settle back into the soil. So that we're doing that. That's one of the composting ideas we have right up to the garden. Yeah. Yep.
And the Green Action Center, in case you didn't know, we do have like a toolkit on how to make your own compost bins. So if you wanted information about that, you can reach out to us and we can send that out to you as well. How about you, Alfred? Does your community do any composting? What do you do with the remaining brush and leaves and from the gardens?
Yeah, well, I just mentioned we put it in one pile and we water it down and we leave it. And, it'll take a while, over years, even some of it, but it'll be there. And I know some of the soil that we've been getting for box gardens have actually been piles of, old brush piles and so on that have composted. And it's excellent soil that we give to these people with box gardens. So yes, it's a good way of having good soil.
Great. How about you, Alfred?
I tried to make a compost once, and my dogs dug it up. And if I would have kept going with my compost, I would have had bear problems.
Yeah, that seems to be a common issue in northern communities is the wildlife getting into it, right? Smelling.
Well, like I said, it's better to have more than one garden. So what my great grandfather did, he'd have 3 gardens, big massive gardens, and he would rotate them, and he wouldn't use the same one every year. He'd keep rotating them, cleaning them and whatnot, and he'd also sleep in there, with a 22 shooting gophers. And after he killed the gophers, he'd boil them and put some salt pork, carrots, onions, and eat them. Make soup, a little bit of porridge. Really, I'm not kidding.
Did it deter them from coming back?
Hey, no,
Did it deter them?
No, they dig underground. They like the thing with I found with gophers, if you, and also mice, if you really water your garden, they don't want to live in your garden. They stay far away from it because they drown. But if you don't water your garden enough, they move in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was curious about that too. I was wondering if you did alternate crops, so you answered my question there. I was curious, what veggies did you plant last year and what do you plan on planting this year? You had mentioned Alfred. Oh, either or, if you alternate your crops or if you switch them up every year. If there's a demand, do you usually choose the veggies based on community input or requests? Or do you just?
Like choice of what we're going to be planting. Usually we'll have a meeting now, pretty soon when the weather's getting better and we start planning on what we're going to do. I've already started buying seed, by the way, as there's some good deals on, and so the decision will be made as time goes on and looking at what's ahead. But the very basic vegetables that our people, especially the elders, like potatoes, there's 2 or 3 kinds that we get, I mentioned, beets and carrots and tomatoes, beans. And a lot of the elders yet still can. Like Alfred had some canning done there in his community, and that happens here also. The health center has had actually workshop with canning. And oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe the number that they had in canning. So it's, and I'm sure it's going to get even more people involved, So the basic vegetables are really grown, and we continue. The other thing I didn't mention is we did start an orchard also. We have Saskatoon and raspberry coming up now. And so this coming year, I'm hoping that it'll continue. And we want to continue to build on the idea of an orchard. Yeah.
Well, Chantal, I see 2 questions in the chat that look interesting. Do you mind if I go ahead? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, I just want to let Alfred answer the question and then we can move on.
Sorry.
What's the question?
Oh, what veggies did you plant last year and what are you planning on planting this year? Do you change it up?
Well, this year I plan on planting medicines, traditional medicines because of COVID,
Yes.
Nice.
like bear root, mullein, hyssop, because I don't think this COVID's going to be going away soon. Like people are getting a false sense of security. Like this past couple of years, me and my wife have made over 500 jugs of COVID medicine that we're giving out to people, and those are some of my ingredients: mullein, hyssop, frog leaves. I've also gave you some, Chantel. You
Yes.
tell them about that medicine I gave you.
Yeah, I was sick for the last 2 weeks and Carrie and Alfred had mentioned they had some traditional medicine and it was like a combination of Vicks with skunk oil. And it was just like intense, but it really like helped clear up like the lungs and the throat. So yeah, that was something new and it really like helped me recover more quickly so I could get back to work. And there's also some lung medicine I was trying out too. And I was curious about what was that in that. So you answered my question there. That's good to hear.
Yeah, but that's part of our culture, eh? Like our people knew how to transport different plants from different areas. So they carried their food with them a long time ago. Like what Carl mentioned there, we planted our own seeds, we planted our own medicines. Wherever we went, we had our medicines with us, and it was the medicine people that knew how to transplant and also to stratify. Stratify is when you plant in the before the snow falls, and what happens because that shell is hard, eh? It has to freeze and thaw, so that the outer shell is cracked by the freezing and thawing, and that's stratification, eh? And that I'm gonna, like I've already started. I did that last year, so hopefully that my plants will come up, and I'll have a lot of medicine for this fall. Even bear root, but bear root I have to wait for 3 or 4 years before I get to use it, eh? Some of them one summer, like hopefully that they'll be ready, because like I said, I'm not letting my guard down yet because of COVID, eh? Like everybody's letting their guard down. It's too early. Panama, 1 year, then I'll let my guard down.
Okay. All right. You want to? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Chantel? Yeah, I just wanted to mention a question that came up there. Dehydration of foods from Audrey, and I know we have a few people this past year was trying to dehydrate some of their vegetables and so on. I think it's going to be something in the future also for northern communities. I think very important actually in drying or dehydrating their food to store and keep. And yeah, so I think that's going to happen. And I think that probably will be part of our discussion also this coming, when we meet with the university. I'd make sure that's on the agenda also, because it's going to be important, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you had also mentioned how like there's big interest in canning, and that hadn't crossed my mind until you mentioned it. So I was like, that's another part of that. You had mentioned Audrey Logan. We are doing our 6th webinar will be Dehydration Nations, and she'll be talking about her work on dehydrating foods and preserving them in traditional ways and using modern tools as well. Going back to comments, we have about 5 more minutes for comments, and then we'll have to wrap it up. So do you have any sense of proportion of your community's food needs are filled with this program? Phil asks. It didn't say who, so whoever wants to answer that one. Do you feel like your community's food needs are being met?
Okay, yeah, that question there. I read it there too. Yeah, I was wondering, but you know, it's something that we're trying to change. Like food security in our communities is almost new again to a lot of our people. You know, if you looked at the colonization of our people and all the effects it had on them, a lot of it had, you know, it removed our own food production in our communities. And I mentioned dependency. Dependency is something that we're going to have to battle and overcome. And especially with our young people, that they're going to stand up and do a lot of things on their own. So I think as time goes on and we continue with these programs, I pushed this part on my discussion with funders and so on. Yeah, and we have to get the young people involved. And so that proportion will get smaller, I think, as we continue on in production of our foods, you know. And I know I want to mention something here that kind of connects it. The food policy for Canada. I was researching on it. I thought if somebody asked that question, I'd have a little bit on it. But food affects the daily lives of all those living in Canada. We must have health foods to keep our family healthy. It also creates jobs and economic growth. In 2017, Agriculture Canada, in a meeting with various groups across Canada, came up with a new directive to address food security. Now, I never heard about it. I'm hoping some of our First Nations were involved with that discussion with Agriculture Canada, because I've had my differences with them. There was dialogue and collaboration and policy to address involvement and in terms of income support groups, improve food environment, reduce greenhouse emissions, produce healthier foods, address the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation, and build stronger Indigenous food systems. And so that was some of the things they had discussed. And I'm hoping that it's going to continue on. I know there's, I think our Prime Minister Trudeau has mentioned there's going to be another initiative coming out, and I think it'll benefit us, what we're trying to do in our communities for food security, and we'll have to look at that when it comes out. So hopefully that you know, that it's going to change for us in the future. And I think Truth and Reconciliation now is taking some meaning with government and so on. So hopefully that's going to help us in the future.
All right, going back to the comments, Beth says, thanks for the great presentation, Carl. I appreciate that you included tips for other communities. Irvin says, always good to hear from you, Carl. Audrey Logan, our webinar 6 presenter, had asked a question about the dehydrating. So you answered that, thank you. Stacy says, great presentations. Thank you for sharing your successes with gardening. Beth shared a link on our Green Action Center compost bin options. So you can check that out there and see that link. Mike Fernandez says, thank you for your response, Carl. Much appreciated. I think there's lots of opportunities with organics, composting, and food security community gardens initiatives. And I look forward to continued dialogue and partnerships. Same with compost bins. Rodents love when it's dry and warm. Renata asks, question for both of you. Where do you buy seeds as a community or project? Is there some places you can mention that are good to get seeds from?
TNT seeds.
Yeah, right. I agree.
TNT?
Yeah, it's on Roblin Boulevard, west from the perimeter there. There's a big outlet there for TNT seeds.
Here in Winnipeg, okay.
There.
All right. And Winona asks, do you wait for rain to water your garden, or do you have a reservoir like rain barrels? Great question.
For me, I this past year, you know how dry it was this past summer. We got a tanker, I think it's 300 gallon, and we got a water pump on it, and so we can go down to the river and fill it and haul it down to the garden, and start and water our garden with that, which is, and I think I need another one. I'm thinking that it's going to continue to be dry because we have 2 sites for our garden, and so I think it's going to be a very important part of looking after our garden is watering it. We're not getting the rain, especially this past year. And Pete, I've watched the news, a prediction on fires, so it's going to be dry. So I think we have to prepare for it. Yep.
How about you, Alfred? Same
With
question.
the water, well, we got a watering machine because our orchard is by the river, so we just take hoses, put them in there, fire up that thing, and start hosing the gardens, eh? So we always have a
Great.
water source close by, eh?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Great.
Another thing too about food, shortage of food. What it is, it's not a shortage of food, it's a shortage of our knowledge keepers. The government tried very hard to eliminate our culture, our teachings. We survived here for thousands and thousands of years before the white man showed up, eh? So it's our knowledge. They took away our knowledge. That's why we have food security problems now. That's our problem.
Mhm.
But
100% agree.
if we had more knowledge keepers sharing our knowledge, and the youth, to get excited to learn, like anybody to get excited to learn, that'd be awesome. But nobody today wants to get off their phones or their Facebook or whatever to go out there and do physical activity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the shortage. The shortage of enthusiasm. The shortage of
All right.
But there is no shortage of food. We just gotta learn how to live off the land again,
Yes.
like our
Yes.
ancestors did.
So true. All right, so we are coming up to the end of our presentation here. I want to thank both of our speakers, Alfred and Carl. You were amazing. We got over the technical issues. Everything went smoothly. I also want to give a big shout out to Carrie Spence, who actually referred both of my speakers for today's webinar. So thank you, Carrie, who formerly worked for the NMFCCC. All right, I'm just gonna share my screen here, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, so here we are. So we have this was the second webinar out of our 6-part webinar Lunch and Learn series. Our next one, our third one, will be next week, Thursday from 12 to 1. It is Sioux Valley Dakota Nation's Climate Change and Environment Program, where they'll talk about food security through traditional teachings. And Dr. Durdana Islam from the Climate Action Team here at the Green Action Center will also talk about their involvement with that program. The week after that will be webinar 4, March 17th, where we'll do a hands-on mixed media workshop with Art City, creating garbage pets. Webinar 5 is Thursday, March 24th, 2022 from 12 to 1. And this one will focus on climate change, Indigenous knowledge, and adaptation within the prairies. So Brent Huson and Dr. Ian Morrow from the Prairie Climate Center will be speaking on that. And webinar 6 will be featured on Thursday, March 31st, which will wrap up our Lunch and Learn series. And Audrey Logan will be talking about traditional food preservation and dehydration. She is a founder of Dehydration Nations here in Winnipeg. So if in the event you missed any of our first webinars or any in the future, they will be uploaded at our YouTube channel. Look under Green Action Center playlists and you'll find 2022 RISE webinar series. if you want to get in contact with us, request more information like those compost bins, we have a variety of educational kits and info regarding about food security and composting and gardening and whatnot. Even vermicomposting if you want to start out small with indoor gardening first. But either way, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram and or join our new e-newsletter. So that's it. I'd like to thank everyone for sticking around. We did go over a bit of time. But other than that, if you have any questions for Carl or Alfred, I believe they left their emails in their presentations, or they can send them in the chat or reach out to us and we could put them in touch with you. So yeah, you have any closing remarks, Alfred and Carl?
Gala sinabi. Amigos, don't mga gamit at take any na mga chibe. Kami bagit ni ka mga chibe ka igitawan. Kinana kamin nim. Way the laga chiti took. Kama si way scostes no way. O pekona chapin na mga para na mga kanut si going way akusin. Ayan gomesek kigo nangin dagi way akusin. Miigwech, thank you.
Carl? Any last words?
Yeah, just again, I would just like to say to all that are still on that thank you very much for taking part in this. I think that these webinars and Zoom meetings are very important in this day and age because of the COVID and not being able to have gatherings and so on. So it plays a big part in communication and sharing knowledge. I appreciate Alfred's message in the language, very, very important. And as I mentioned, we lost so much through colonization and residential school. And so we have to go back on that road of reacquiring so many things, including food security. So again, thank you very much for being part of this. And I'm happy to be here with you. Thank you.
All right, Miigwech. All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Hey, bye.
Bye.
Bye.